This episode is presented by Visit Cedar City Bryan Head Tourism Bureau. Discover the art of adventure at Utah's gateway to the parks. Cedar City is within a few hours' drive from 6 different national parks and monuments, and only 30 minutes from fresh snow at Bryan Head Resort. Check out visitcedarcity.com to plan your next trip. This episode is sponsored by the Cedar City Business and Innovation Center. Dedicated to supporting local businesses and entrepreneurs, it provides resources and services aimed at fostering business creation, growth, and retention. The center features the Makerspace, where entrepreneurs and small businesses can have access to 3D printers, video production and photography equipment, t-shirt printing, and more. Whether you're starting a new venture or looking to expand an existing one, the Cedar City Business and Innovation Center offers the tools and guidance to help you succeed. To learn more and get involved, visit innovationcenter.cc. Hello and welcome to the Explore Local podcast presented by Visit Cedar City Bryan Head in partnership with Cedar City Iron County Economic Development. Produced by Dallas Smith Media, and I'm your host, David Johnson. Okay, well, today we have Brennan Wood, who's president of Southwest Technical College here in Cedar City. Welcome to the podcast.
I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, Brennan, tell us, how long have you been with Southwest Tech?
I've been the president now for 10 years.
Really?
Yeah, 10 amazing years. It's been a lot of fun, a lot of challenges, but yeah, 10 years goes by fast when you're having a good time.
Yeah, and I don't know that a lot of people know this, but you were actually in my position as economic development director for Cedar City and Iron County previously. Was there anything in between that and Southwest Tech, or you just went straight from that to Southwest Tech?
No, I was with the city doing economic development for 5 years, and I was on the board for the tech college for 4 of those years. And it was just a really, smooth transition from the city to the state. And, but yeah, I mean, my time as economic development director was a lot of fun. You have a great job.
Yeah. I joke around that it's the fun stuff in city government. Not everybody wants everything, but you get to create jobs. You get to, or you're helping attract business that creates jobs. You get to just be involved, with bringing like stores that people want, those types of things. And not a lot of people get too upset about that. So, people are excited about those quality of life kind of things.
Definitely. And really what got me into higher education was my position as economic development director, because when I brought in companies that were looking to expand, to move into Cedar City, one of the biggest questions was, where is the workforce? And where's the trained and the skilled individuals? And one of my first stops, everyone that I brought in was the technical college. Yeah. And so I got to know Dana Miller, who was the president at the time, and we just worked really closely together on talking about the future of workforce. And I got so involved with it that when Dana retired, I said, I want that job. Whenever I walk into the tech college, I feel 10 years younger, just because there's a lot of excitement, and we call it, there's a really good vibe at the tech college. And so me and my faculty and my staff, we really try to develop that vibe and make it exciting for students and just for anybody walking in the door. There's a lot going on. We have over 20 programs. And so it keeps me young and keeps me excited about what I'm doing. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that you mentioned how that transition worked, because you're right. One of the first things whenever we have a manufacturer or company that we're bringing into town, first thing we do is we connect with Southwest Tech, we connect with SUU, and then we connect with existing manufacturers. And because a lot of times the question is, well, how does Cedar City have enough employment? I just had an elected official ask me the other day, well, if we're bringing in some of these new manufacturers, are we going to have enough workforce for that? And I said, yeah, let me give you an example. When American Packaging came in, they had 30 jobs open and 300 applications. You helped bring in GAF, right?
That's right.
And didn't they have a similar story? I thought it was something like 30 jobs and 1,200 applications or something crazy like that.
Yeah, and a lot of companies come in and they look at the smaller size of Cedar City and they worry about that. And besides having a great kind of pull from just outside of Cedar City, people want to stay here. Yeah. And if they've moved out of town, they want back. Right. And so typically when you post those jobs, there are a lot of people that want them. And the best thing about it is they're really hardworking individuals. And back when I was in your position, when I talked to the manufacturers, they just said the workforce in Utah is they just work hard.
Yeah.
They get a lot done. And so we may not need as many, but we get the work done and we get the job done.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that too, because American Packaging, when I first got here, was telling me one of the administrative employees was telling me back in some of their other facilities that he's helped manage, the turnover was like 3 times what it is here. Yeah. I think he said more than that, but it was a significant amount, and I was blown away. And that's exactly what he said. And at that time, I think they'd only been here like a year, and he said that the turnover is so much less, and we get so much work product out of employees here. The other thing you said too about people wanting to come back constantly, we talk about creating jobs, and that's what I tell people is when we're creating these jobs, it's about retaining our workforce, because for so long, how many people grew up here and had to move away, right? And so it creates that opportunity. So I guess let's dive into what are I guess you mentioned you have 20 programs, right?
We're just over 20 programs. We actually start our newest program, which is Master Esthetician. That starts July 3rd, and that's a full cohort. We're full. So if you're interested in Master Esthetician, you'll have to come see us and then get ready to jump on that next cohort, which will be in about 6 months.
You have to forgive my ignorance. I'm pretty sure that's like facials and things like that. Right?
It makes you look good. They work in spas. We will have our own spa that we're opening up here in about 6 months.
Really?
Once our students get through the curriculum, we have to have our own spa, and you can come in and pay the student rate and get a facial. And I'm already signed up to be we call them models. Yeah. If you want to have a student practice on you, so we'll be opening that up to community members. We'll post the prices. But that's just one of many programs. And one thing about the tech college that I think a lot of people just don't, grasp, they don't understand, is how many programs from health professions. We have licensed practical nursing, we have welding, we have apprenticeship programs, we have culinary arts. We really focus on making sure that the workforce is strong in Southern Utah. And an example of that is a lot of our students are from the 4-county region: Iron, Garfield, Kane, and Beaver.
Yeah.
And after they graduate, 60% are finding jobs in that 4-county region, and a little just over 90% are staying in Utah finding jobs. Now, we're sending students to other states. We send them to Kentucky, Wisconsin, California, but our focus is very regional. We want to create the job market in the 4-county region in Southern Utah. And so it's a great return on investment. And it goes back to your original question about developing the workforce. Yeah. Typically, the students are from here, and they're staying here. And even with that, we're starting to have a larger influence around the state. Last year, we had students from 22 of the 29 counties, and we had students from 12 different states from across the United States.
Oh, that's awesome. One thing I really love, and I say this, I think what I'm about to say, I think it's more of a perspective thing, but there's almost this shift in education more toward tech schools. And I think like when I went, was in high school and going to college, and even throughout the years, if someone went to tech school, they're selling themselves short. They're not really going and getting full education. But that's just not the case anymore.
Yeah, when I started 10 years ago, there was a really bad perception, not only in Utah, but nationally about technical colleges. And it was, it's a second choice. It's if you can't get into the university, go to the tech college. Yeah. And that really has changed. You've seen the federal government, you've seen the state government start to put more resources in technical education and the trades. And I think they've seen that, okay, where we have 60% of our truck drivers that are going to be retiring in 10 years, or our plumbers, our electricians, our welders. We're not going to have them if we don't put more resources into it. And besides that, the perception of, the trades are dirty is changing over time.
Right. Blue collar versus white collar.
Yeah. And Mike Rowe has been great. He's had a number of television shows talking about these types of jobs and careers. And people have seen, okay, it can be fun, it can be challenging, it pays well.
Yeah.
I can have a family if I go into the trades, and so it really has over the last 10 years. It's night and day difference between what I got into, and locally we've just spent a lot of time on partnering with industry, with Southern Utah University. We have a dual enrollment program with SUU. It's unique across the country, and other institutions are trying to model this relationship that we have. And so we've decided, and our strategy is we want to be a first choice for students graduating from high school. We want to be the first choice, but we also want SUU as a sister institution just 6 blocks away from our campus to have such a good relationship that they can go to either institution. They can be successful. And if they decide that the other institution might make more sense for them, it's a better fit, then because of dual enrollment, they already have a foot in the door at that other institution.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you brought up the dual enrollment, because I think that's part of, I think that's the next phase in the shift. I think of perception. The perception has gone from, it's dirty jobs. It's kind of, you're settling, to, hey, tech schools and these technical jobs, the blue collar jobs, they're needed to, hey, these actually work hand in hand together with your traditional education. And that's, so we had Mindy Benson on a couple weeks ago, and her and I talked about that. And I think the next phase, what I'm getting at is exactly that, is that complementary relationship between the blue collar and the white collar job. Because I don't know, I mean, maybe in the finance industry, but even then they have maintenance people on their buildings. I was going to say, I don't know very many organizations that don't have both blue collar and white collar employees.
Yeah. And they need to work together. They need to be able to talk the same talk.
Yeah.
And at Southwest Tech, we teach them very hands-on skills and what they need to enter the workforce. But if they get to the point where they want to start their own business, or if they want to continue their education, we want them to have that relationship with our university partners. Yeah. And we want them to be able to come back to us if it's continuing education. And it's not, you're a student for a month or 2 or 12 months. It's, you should be a lifelong learner. Yeah. And continue to expand your skills. And we want to do that for our community. And we do a lot. So at the tech college, we have a lot of kind of groups of students. A lot of people ask me, what's the head count of the college? And I usually say, okay, do you want the one big picture? Or do you want me to break this down? Because we have adult certificate seeking students. We have high school students that are in adult programs. We have high school students that are taking introductory courses, which is kind of its own bucket. We have short-term training, which is very business-driven. Businesses come to us and say, this is the type of training we need. We have that bucket. And then we have custom fit, which is a separate bucket. So we really have 5 buckets of students. And so I tell people, it's which number do you want? And there's really 5 numbers. But if you look at the bigger picture, we have about 4,000 individuals that come through every year that come through some sort of training at the tech college.
And don't you, on the note of high school, aren't there high school kids that come like from Kane County or something all the way up?
Yeah, we have students that bus from Kane and from Panguitch High School. And we also have students that they drive themselves from Parowan. We have students that come from Canyon View, and Cedar's easy. They walk across the street. And it's because they want that experience. You can only do so much technical education via hybrid education online. Students need to get into the labs. They need to work with the welding equipment, the industrial equipment. And so, they spend 2 of their days. They get up early, get on a bus, drive to Southwest Tech and spend 4 hours there, and then get back on the bus and go home. But it's a great partnership with our school districts. And it's you want to get them started early, because a lot of times if they go to college their first year and it's the first time they're thinking about, okay, what do I want to do? Yeah. That's not too late, but it's late. And so we want to get them excited about a career. And at Southwest Tech, we try to get every 5th grader to come take a tour of the college and show them what the opportunities are. We do that again when they're an 8th grader. And then hopefully by their freshman year, they can actually start taking classes at no tuition. So there is a tuition at the college, but if you're a high school student, there is 0 tuition. We waive those fees. In some cases, there's some materials fees, but we try to make it as cost effective as possible to start early.
Yeah, I love that because it really opens the door for anyone of any walk of life to get higher learning, higher education, and do something, you know. And there's so many people that I know, friends and family, who in high school or whatever, they're like, I hated school. And I think a lot of that is because, you know, the sitting in the classroom, it's like people are like, I hate sitting and working at a computer, right? But there's so much value in education. Here's what I'm trying to get at. There are some mechanically minded people that I know who have not even technical school education, but they are so smart. They can take apart an engine. They can tell you what's wrong, what's going on. And I think being able to take people with that different way of thinking and being able to, the way they work with their hands or whatever the profession is, and saying, hey, you actually can apply that in a practical way and still get an education, quote unquote. And that's one shift I saw clear even 20 years ago, finishing up my undergrad, was I slowly saw, and then when I did my master's, the same thing. Even in traditional education, there was this push for going and doing internships, and a push for a lot of adjunct professors that, you know, are out in the field and then working. And I don't know if that was out of necessity or a little bit of both necessity and realizing there needs to be more of this hands-on kind of education going on. But I think, anyways, I'm just kind of circling back to what you're talking about, like the way the SUU and the Southwest Tech. That's one of the things that I probably promote the most when I'm talking to these potential businesses or even just kids trying to figure out what they're doing with their life.
Yeah, and another thing that you made me think about was that our credit transfers to the institutions, our sister institutions, or the universities. So there are 16 institutions in Utah, 8 either research or university or community colleges, and then 8 technical colleges. We all fall under the same system. And so over the last couple of years, the tech colleges have gone from a membership hour kind of currency to a credit currency, similar to the universities. And now that's much easier to transfer that credit into a university. Yeah. So with SUU and dual enrollment, our credit goes right into a potential degree, or it fills an elective. So a lot of parents come to me and say, well, I want my kids to go to the tech college in high school, and they might go on, but do they get credit for that? And the answer is absolutely yes.
I love that.
Not only does it give you a skill that you can have your entire life, it can develop into a career, it can develop into going on to a university to get a bachelor's or a master's, but that work will count towards something. And we just tell people, come talk to our counselors, come talk to our enrollment techs, let's get them involved. All of my kids have taken something at the tech college. My son, a freshman, he took automotive. My daughter's taken some health professions. You said something that I just remembered, and it's sometimes students that are working through a traditional class at the high school, and they're just not doing well. They don't like it. They come over to the tech college, and they just grow, and they just something changes in
clicks.
them. Yeah. And they're excited about going to the welding class. They're excited about, and it's not easy. And sometimes people are like, "Oh, tech college, it's not as hard."
Right. Yeah.
Oh, it is challenging. It's hard. You have to study. You have to work your tail off.
You might not have to write an essay, but you've got to know how to do that weld correctly, right? Or whatever the case is.
And you know, there's math and everything, and but it's different when you're learning about something and then you're applying it instantly and you're seeing how it works with whatever career that you're interested in. And so it's definitely not easier. It's different. It's challenging, and it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
It's when you said there's math and everything, there's one thing I always brain tease my kids about. I'm like, I tell them that I'm like, you cannot mention, there's nothing that you can say that cannot be measured by math. Or involve math. And they're like, no, Dad, what about grass? And I'm like, you can measure how long of a blade of grass is. What about color? You can measure how the depth of the shade of that color, you know, and they try to quiz me. And really, honestly, a lot of mechanically minded people are mathematically minded in a lot of ways, just not in the traditional sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And when students come in, in most cases, they know exactly what they want to do.
Yeah.
But if they don't, and sometimes they come in and the parents come in with them and just say, what programs do you have? Let's go through all 20 plus programs. Let's talk about your interests. Let's talk about your goals. And we try to put them into the right career path from day one.
Yeah.
And sometimes we have students that are halfway through and they decide, like anybody else, I'm going to make a change here. But it's let's talk to you up front. And we're small enough as an institution of higher education, we can have those one-on-one conversations with incoming students. We can meet with them. I meet with our student government every month. And,
cool.
we have an opportunity to hear from them. What are your challenges? What do you like about the college? What do you don't like about the college?
Yeah.
What do you want to see different? And so there's a lot of feedback from students at the college. And hopefully we've done a good job of implementing a lot of those conversations and suggestions that they've provided.
So that was a good segue actually to my next question is, we think a lot of, and we've mentioned, or probably I've mentioned, mechanics and welding and things, but give a few examples of the scope or the breadth of the types of programs that you have.
Absolutely. So we have medical office receptionist, we have nursing assistant. So if someone's interested in the medical field, something as simple as phlebotomy, come to the tech college, we can get you started. And some of these programs are short, some are longer. And we go from that, we go to welding, we go to electrical and plumbing apprenticeship. We have software development, information technology, culinary arts. And so again, it's not just one program. I remember when I started 10 years ago, I was meeting with someone in the community that was pretty influential and knew a lot. And they said, oh, you're the truck driving school. And I said, well, we do have commercial truck driving, but we have a lot of other programs as well. And so that's, as president, and we've done more. We've put money into marketing. We've put money into enrollment, and we've put money into just people going out and talking to community members, to high schools, and making them aware of the opportunities, because it's not just the one truck driving school. There's a lot to it. Surgical technology is another one. It's a program that we've had just for a year. Firefighter we started a couple of years ago. Paramedic a couple of years ago. So we've added programs as well. And my goal, I want to be a hub for public safety in the state of Utah. And we're creating a training center that will have trench training, ropes training, mass casualty training. There'll be something that's called a disaster city, a rubble pile. And I really want to have those resources, not only for our 4-county region, but really for everyone across the state to come and do additional training. That's, I think, really going to be something that's going to be our niche moving forward. And I'm really excited about that.
That's cool. You mentioned a few things that actually tee up some directions I want to go, but I do want to backtrack a little bit. So a lot of people, that do understand what a tech school is. There's tech school and then there's traditional school, but then there's those weird ones in the middle, like MIT and Utah Tech, where they're not exactly a tech school and they're not exactly a traditional school, but yet they are both of those things. So what's the distinction with those types of schools?
So Utah Tech, our friends just to the south of us, they're a regional university. And so they offer a bachelor's degree. And there's this weird dynamic going on in the state of Utah right now where we're very focused on what is your mission? What is your mission as a technical college? What is your mission as a community college, Snow College, for example? And then as a regional university, what's their mission? Yeah. And in the past couple of years, I'd say 10 years ago, there was a lot of gray in between those areas. But the state, the system office, and the Board of Higher Education says, we're really going to focus on making sure people kind of focus on their mission. Yeah. And Utah Tech as a university, they have a focus and they have a brand. And they really focus on the degrees. The tech colleges, we don't offer any degrees. We don't offer an associate's. We don't offer a bachelor's. We're very focused on industry certificates.
Yeah, certifications.
And so that's our focus. So the biggest difference is really very focused on industry and on the certificate, where your regional universities offer associates, bachelor's, and in some cases, a master's program. And one of the big differences between tech and university is our schedule. And sometimes we throw out the terms like semesters and quarters. At the tech college, many of our programs, not all, but many of our programs are open entry. So that means every month we're starting a new group coming in.
Yeah.
And you can work at your own pace. And I say own pace, there's a minimum pace that we want.
Sure, yeah.
But if you want to work quicker, I was just speaking to a student that graduated, and it was a 15-month program, and they completed in 9 months.
Wow.
And they were able to come in, and they just really knocked it out of the park. They worked really hard. They spent time on their homework, and they were able to, once they have that competency, you can move on to the next one. You don't have to wait for anybody else.
Yeah.
And so that's different. So we have really 12 start dates every year. And we also have what's a traditional called lockstep. Practical nursing is a traditional lockstep where we start in January and we start in August, and you work with that cohort until the end.
Yeah.
So it's we've got both, but the competency-based piece is really key. And higher education across the country, they're trying to figure out how do we really truly take advantage of competency-based education really at every level. We've just been doing it for a long time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I appreciate that. That's a good distinction. And I think of schools too, like MIT, but then there's USU who are very like MIT, I think throws in tech, and I'm asserting this, I don't really know exactly, is because they're more focused on like the sciences, like the engineering and, technology and those types of things. I think is why some of those go for that. Where USU, they have, traditional kind of school name, but they're very heavily focused on like engineering and some of those technical, degrees, I guess, so to speak.
And technical can be a word that can mean a lot of different things.
That's kind of what I was getting at is like, don't be fooled by the word technical.
Right.
That's kind of what I was getting, kind of clear some of that up, especially because here in Southern Utah, now we have Utah Tech with their new branding, and just trying to help people understand what that distinction is, I think is important.
Absolutely.
So tell me, you alluded to your new facility, or the facility that you're working toward with the emergency responders. Talk about that vision, and because I know that's taken a lot of your thought and time and efforts over the last little while.
Yeah, and we've had an EMT and an advanced EMT program for a number of years. Mm-hmm. But when we added firefighter, when we added paramedic, there's so many simulations that you have to do during the curriculum of just those programs. We have a fire trainer, and we cut up cars when they have to do different types of simulations. And I just said, there's no one place that you can do all of this.
Yeah.
And even for us, for our own current students, we just said, we need to do more. We need to create more. And so we took about 2 acres of the property that we have, and we just said, this is going to be, we call it STACK. And it stands for Southwest Technical College Training and Advancement Center.
Huh.
And so it's going to be the STACK for short, but it's going to be about 15 different training simulations. One of them is called an urban center, where it looks like it's retail, and it's 4 units, and each unit has its own training apparatus. And one of them is going to be where a car crashed into the front of a store. Mm-hmm. And you hear about it on the news. Someone stepped on the gas instead of putting it on the brake, and they ran their car right through the front. We went all over the country. We went to Texas. We went to California, and we asked them, what training prop do you need? And everybody said, we need to add that training prop. And that's so interesting. These are places that have 500 plus acres of props. And so we said, well, we're going to start from day one with that prop. And then in the other 3, one's more of a traditional retail environment, one's a residential environment, and then one is a collapsed roof environment. And so each area, about 15 different areas, will have a different, you call them a prop, but they could be many different things.
Sure.
It's just an opportunity for people to come train. We have a bus that we're going to crash into a car for mass casualty training. So it's a lot of fun.
I shouldn't laugh at the mass casualty training, but when you say we have a bus where a car crashes into it, it just makes me think of like little boys just like destroying things and then taking it.
Well, it's kind of felt like that because we took some raw ground and we tiered it, and we've been out there walking around, and we're like, this is going to be a great place for our ropes training. Yeah. This is where we're going to crash the car. We're looking for a decommissioned tanker. We want to do some hazmat training. And so if anybody has a decommissioned tanker out there that they'd like to donate, we'd love to take that off your hands. But it's not only for our students, but it's also continuing education. We're working with the Utah National Guard and becoming an affiliate training site with them.
Yeah.
And so they can do some additional trainings down in Southern Utah. my vision is like literally we are a hub for public safety. There's huge training facilities out there. Teaks in Texas is 500 plus acres, and we're going to be on 2 to start things off. But for the tech college, and I say this a lot, let's create something at Southwest Tech that fits our region, that fits our community. It may not be as big, but it's going to have really high quality and important training aspects that are going on. Yeah.
Well, and it's funny too, because when you talked about the bus and the crash and the tanker and things like that, I joke about it. It's like little boys like playing and crashing things. But I think that's why sometimes technical schools attract a totally different audience, is because it's like, oh, well, that's intriguing to me to do something, where someone that's like wants to go into, I don't know, political science, their process and thinking is totally different. Where even for me, just I'm like, oh, I want to see that, like a bus crashed into, and I want to see, one of the things I've always loved is when you watch like firefighters practice on a building and putting it out. I mean, it's fascinating because there's a skill set that goes into that. That's just, sure, there's the academic side and the knowledge you have to know and the studying you have to do, but then putting it to practice is, I don't know, it's kind of cool. So
yeah, and I love that aspect of my job. And sometimes I stop after hours and I see our firefighters doing their thing, and it puts a smile on my face to know that there's these people that they've decided on a career that helps the entire community.
Yeah,
I think that's really neat. And one thing that surprised me coming into the college from outside of higher education is we call them non-traditional students. I really don't like that term.
Sure, yeah.
It's people that have been out there working for 20, 30 years and they decide to make a major career move. And we have a lot of those types of students that have just come and said, I've done something for 20 years. And
adult learners,
I don't like it. I want to do a complete 180. I want to change career paths, and they're successful at it. And they typically come in really worried about, okay, I've been out for a long time.
It's a risk.
It's a risk. And so I think every program that we've run, I've seen multiple people come back after 20, 30 years. We have students from all over, from different cultures, from different backgrounds, and they all have something in common, and it's they want to learn a skill that's going to provide for their family. So I think students jump in, they work together, they support each other, but it is fun to see just a very diverse group of students at the tech college.
Yeah. Cool. Well, now I want to take a shift into the economic development side of things. So, when I alluded to this earlier, whenever I have a company that I'm trying to bring to town and trying to get them to, bring their company here, whether it's expanding or headquartered or whatever, we do what's called site tours. And this is more for the audience. And you're familiar with this, or sometimes they're familiarization tours, where we just bring someone, we show them the community, we show them the universities, we talk workforce, we sit down, we talk about the nitty gritty of what they need for their company. We take them Utah Shakespeare Festival, just really help them see the full scope of our community. And one of the things that I love to do is go sit in that large conference room at Southwest Tech and just have people, these companies, often multi-million-dollar companies, just be blown away in what we're doing here. Talk to me. I know I can pontificate on it, but typically when I bring in a company, tell our audience kind of what you guys do, and what you share with those companies.
Yeah, absolutely. The first thing we do, we talk to them about the mission of the college, and it's really about developing the workforce. And we show them that the current opportunities, the current programs, and we try to express and help them understand that a tech college is not just there for those 20 plus programs. We have short-term training, and we have a list. And sometimes people are like, well, tell us what you do for short-term training. Mm-hmm. And I tell them, let me print off the 5 to 10 pages of all the different types of trainings.
There's so much
that we do. And because of our network of technical colleges in the state of Utah, if it's a training we haven't done before, we've got someone that's done it on the Wasatch Front or up in Ogden or up in Roosevelt. And we can either bring them down here, we can send them up to that training site. there's really not very many trainings, short-term trainings that we cannot help with.
Yeah, throw out a couple examples of some short-term trainings. I know there's
any
a variety.
type of like OSHA training. We've done boiler training. We've done Excel, Word, leadership, management. If it has anything to do with equipment, we've probably done it as well.
Yeah.
And so it can be almost anything. And then we also partner with SUU's community course in their program as well. And we have a combined catalog where if it's in red, it's an SUU training. If it's in blue, it's in Southwest Tech. And it's a list of a couple hundred training opportunities.
It just blows my mind.
Yeah. And when these companies come in, what we tell them is, bring us that opportunity and we'll work with you and to develop it and make it official. We also have Custom Fit, which is a state program, and it's part of the statewide economic development strategy, where as companies come in and companies that have been here for a number of years, we want them to have a competitive workforce and keep them competitive. So Custom Fit will pay up to 40% of a training. And that could, again, be a number of different things. And it could be training at their facility, or it could be a training at Southwest Tech. It could be a training that we have to send someone to in another state. And so on these site visits, we just tell these companies about the opportunities that the state's created through the tech colleges, through our university partners, just to make them feel more comfortable about, okay, if I do show up, the workforce is going to be trained, or I can pivot and create a training, because that's just one of their biggest concerns is it's a risk for them, and we want a workforce that's going to be able to back up the company expansion. So when they come in, that's typically what we share with them, and we give them examples. We've partnered with some industries very specific on training. When Smithfield was here, the pork farms, we did a lot of their training. We had a pork production program that was specific for them. We had a herd technician program that was very specific. So we sit down with the employer and we talk about their needs, and then we develop a plan of action on how to support them.
Yeah. Yeah. That was actually going to be part of my next question, or for you to kind of explain. So you talked about Custom Fit and pays up to 40% to do any kind of training. Tell, I guess maybe you were kind of highlighting this with Smithfield, but what are some other companies where, because Custom Fit is not just about helping pay for training, you can also help design course curriculum. Talk about maybe some examples where you've done that and what it takes to create a course curriculum for a specific business. Yeah,
and we've done one with Align Precision here, where it's a precision sheet metal fabrication program that's a part of 3 different strategies. So it's part of a statewide initiative where it's all about aerospace. It's the Aerospace Pathway Initiative. And we partnered with Align, we partnered with SUU. So for a high school student, they spend a third of their year at Southwest Tech learning about precision sheet metal fabrication. And that was us working with Align to find out what are their business processes and their practices. And then we're teaching that at Southwest Tech. Then they spend a third of their time at SUU learning more about aviation. And then they spend a third of their time at Align Precision as an externship while in high school. So they're learning about the different processes actually at the manufacturing. So that's one example. And that's probably one of the more complicated examples because it has 3 different partners. But we sat down with them and said, okay, what do you want us to teach these students? And we've done it with a number of different organizations where they come in and say, these are the 10 skill sets these students absolutely have to have. And then we create a curriculum to back that up. And I think we're really good at that because our accrediting body is we refer to them as COE, Council on Occupational Education. And they, as part of our accreditation, require us, and we would do it even if it wasn't a requirement because it's so important, is that for every program, we have an occupational advisory committee, which is a minimum of 3 industry partners. And we meet with them a couple times throughout the year where we come in, we sit down with them, and we go over our curriculum. We ask them, what are you seeing out there in the real world, the trends, what's happening? Because industry sees those trends before higher ed every time.
I think Blockbuster needed one of those committees.
Right. They could have used one. But if you have those committees, they're telling you what you need to provide them and say, if your students comes out with these skills, I'll hire them.
Yeah.
And so every program has, we say a minimum of 3, but we invite many, and sometimes you'll come to our occupational advisory committees and there'll be 4, 5, 6, 8 different industry partners there with us. So we're always developing the curriculum. We're always revising it.
Yeah.
Higher education is not the fastest moving entity out there, but as a technical college, we really try to pivot as quickly as we can.
Yeah. I like how you mentioned that, seeing what these actual companies need. Ed Dallas will have to forgive me a little bit for this example, but he was telling me one time, that some of the students that he's worked with that have maybe going into film have never used the type of camera that you need to go into film, right? And so if employers like, Dallas Smith Media, from media companies to manufacturers, if students are going to school and they're not coming out with the right skills of the industry that they're going in, then they're not going to get a job, right? They need to have some of those practical skills as well as just the academic knowledge, so to speak. Yeah.
And we try to hit on, we call it the soft skills. It's the show up to work on time. It's stay until you're supposed to stay. It's when look people in the eye.
Yeah.
It's communicate.
Right.
And even though we don't hit on that from an academic standpoint, we don't have a class on that. We have a student navigation center. We call it the NAV, and we have Jason Rhodes, one of our awesome employees, helps with when students get close to graduation. We bring them in and we say, okay, let's look at your resume. Let's talk about interviewing skills. Let's talk about those soft skills. Most of the employers out there, they're saying, we love the technical skills that the students have. It's the soft skills that we're worried about. And this is nationally, and this is in every industry.
Yep.
And so it's, we provide those opportunities for our students. We talk about that. We give them those opportunities, and we're trying to do even more in that world where okay, if we have these side soft skill opportunity classes, will students take advantage of them? And we're creating some strategy on how to do that, but that's a big part of it too.
Yeah.
Employers are saying it's, our computer advisory board, that's what they're saying. Welding, automotive, it's soft skills over and over again.
Yeah. You made me think of a few things with that. In traditional higher education, a lot of times they're learning the academic stuff and they're not learning kind of some of the practical skills. But the soft skills too are so important. For example, in local government, for city managers, they say that a lot of times in city management, a lot of these professionals, they work their way up. And at the beginning of their career, they were very technical people doing, whether it's analysis or they were maybe a city engineer or an attorney or whatever they were, kind of on the low man on the totem pole when they were starting their career. But then, and it was 80% technical, 20% social skills. But then by the time you move up in management, that flips, and you're 20% technical and 80% social skill. And so, in the medical world, they call that bedside manner, right? Mm-hmm. And I think it also goes to, what does someone like to do? So I had a friend several years ago, is a nurse, and he worked his way up into management. He got the education and everything. And he was in management, I think a year, maybe 2. And he realized he hated it. And so he gave up the management position and he went back to the floor because that's what he loved. And he actually felt like he made more money because he got paid hourly instead of salary, right? But I think knowing what our skills are and what we enjoy, whether it's the technical side, the soft skill, or both, really you need both. At minimum, everybody needs a 20% social skill capability, right?
Yeah. And one of our most popular trainings is our customer service training. And we have an expert come in, and it's not just for your front staff people. It's for anybody that has any interaction with a customer.
Yeah.
And our training really makes you think outside of the box. And there's a lot of tourism drives a lot of the economies in our 4-county region. Mm-hmm. And so we feel that that's important, but it is, it's a full day workshop on customer service, on the soft skills piece. And there's just a lot to it. And I'm going to change directions just a little bit, but we also have a business and innovation center at Southwest Tech. And it's in partnership with Southern Utah University, the Cedar City Chamber of Commerce, SUUBRC, a lot of partners all there in one location. And it's really, boots on the ground, entrepreneurship. If you have an idea, we have a maker space. We have people there that can help you write a business plan. So it's a really unique partnership, and you find these all over the country. And we went and traveled all over the country to see these. And we went to the University of Utah, and there's some that are massive. They're huge, and there's a lot of money pumped into them. And again, we went back to my idea of let's make it fit into our community. But it is a really good opportunity. It's people come and they need help with logo design. They want to create their first t-shirt. They want to develop a business plan. They have a business concept and they need the tools to make it. So we've really gone just very ground level, get people starting, get people past the idea of concept. And it's a great partnership with, again, these partners that I mentioned. And we've seen some successful businesses created out of the tech colleges. Location.
I'm glad you mentioned the Business and Innovation Center. Jeremy Waite oversees that. There's a couple points I want to make with that, and maybe you can elaborate more on. You already touched on some of the partners. I can't remember the number of partners, but there's almost double even what you mentioned. I think there's the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity, Women's Business Center, SBDC, the Chamber of Commerce.
SCORE's part of that as well.
They're all housed there. SUU, Southwest Tech, we have all these partners there. But the key that I want to bring out is that's not just available to your students.
Right.
It's available to anyone in the public, any small business owner, to kind of elaborate on like the maker space and how that could benefit small businesses. And you don't have to be a student.
Yeah. And we even have a studio, and we're sitting in a really nice studio right now, but we have our own studio. So if people want to make an infomercial, if they want to create, a Facebook post, we have the equipment. Like you said, a small business is not going to go out and buy a whole bunch of equipment to do a one run type of a commercial. Right. So any business that is here locally can come in, take advantage of the maker space, take advantage of the studio. We want that used. I mean, the whole purpose of Southwest Tech in developing this concept was to drive small business. The more small businesses that are in town, the more that grow up to be headquartered in town. And that money just flows more into Cedar City instead of the money flowing out. And so we really wanted to do that in support of community. And Jeremy, like you mentioned, does a great job. Joni over at the BRC SUU does an amazing job. So we've created it to a point where you can come in, and if you need help for a week, we have availability. If you need to come in for 6 months, then we can do that too. We also have something that's called the Hive, where we create.
Took the words right out of my mouth. Keep going. Yeah, that's perfect.
Where it's by application. They come in and they apply to be part of the Hive. And then there's a whole process that we take the business through. It's from the business plan, it's mentoring, and you can spend, I believe it's 6 months working with these experts. And we have people, some entrepreneurs that have done extremely well in their lives, and they're coming and they're giving back and they're mentoring these new entrepreneurs. We have a monthly sponsors meeting, and they typically bring in pizza and a guest speaker, and they get people talking, and they hold each other accountable, which I think is a really big piece of it. Yeah.
There's lots of different coordination meetings too. I know, for example, through the Iron County Rural Communities Grant, which is through the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity, is where that funding originates. But we have implemented a small business program, and Joni and Jeremy and others help me facilitate that small business program. And it's so awesome when we see all these applications. The last 2 years, we've had over 40 different applications, like over $1 million worth of requests each year. And we've had like $60,000 that we can distribute each year, but it's so cool to hear Joni and others say, "Oh, I helped this business put together their business plan," or "This is one of my clients that's been coming in for an advisement." And I don't want to say that biases, but in some ways just having a business plan when you're applying for a small business grant, it does bias. That's one of the things actually in the application. It asks, do you have a small business plan? And it's there free of charge for them to come help. Talk about the makerspace though. Is there cost associated with that? If I'm a small business, I'm like, oh, I need to make a little commercial. How do I use that space?
Yeah, I mean, there are some costs depending on the materials being used, but the studio, there's really no raw materials being used up, and so there's no cost to that. And I think if people are worried about any type of the cost or the fees, they should go in and talk to Jeremy, go and talk to Mikkel. We have some really great staff in there. And they will do a much better job than me on selling the equipment. We have 3D printers.
Yeah.
We have sublimation machines.
That's where some of the materials costs come into play if they need to utilize those.
We have an embroidery machine, and we have all kinds of tools that people use. And it's really shocking sometimes when I walk in there and they show me some of the products that are being developed. Yeah. It's really neat to see, and it's very affordable. And that's why we did it. Some business and innovation centers, they're a business of themselves, and they're there to make money. Mm-hmm. We've developed ours so that we're here to support businesses. It's not a revenue generator for me or the state of Utah. It's really truly about opportunities for local businesses.
Well, and that's I love that because that's one of the areas I wanted to bring up was the business and innovation centers. And that partnership epitomizes that. I should tout us a little bit here. In Iron County, between our custom fit and our business and innovation center, a lot of communities have those things. They use those programs, but I think we do it the best in the state. And that sounds extremely biased, and it is, but it's because of the way we coordinate. And this podcast with you has highlighted how that's all coordinated. We cover everything from the job certifications to the degrees to I'm a small business owner and I need to do something that benefits it to major manufacturers. I mean, we really cover the whole spectrum of what services or assistance that business might need. And there's my office at the table. There's the chamber at the table. There's, SU, there's Southwest Tech. There's all these entities that have interest in business and workforce. Some are more focused on workforce. Some are more focused on, business recruitment. Some are more focused on, the pipeline coming through. But that's good. We need everybody to have their own little niche kind of focus and overlap with one another. So.
Well, and I just want to hit that really hard because I go to conferences, I go to accreditation visits. Accreditation comes to Southwest Tech, and there are people from all over the country that come. And they are literally shocked at the collaboration that's happening in Utah, and specifically in southern Utah. And they just said, I would give up so much if I could get my university to partner with me. And we have that with Mindy and with Southern Utah University or local economic development, the local chamber. We talk to each other, we meet with each other, we collaborate. And that is, it sounds terrible, but that's not happening in very many places across the country. So we're doing a great job, and I just wanted to highlight that again and the great things that's happening here in southern Utah. Yeah,
it's one of the things I love about working here. It makes my job amazing. Like just because of that level of coordination, I've been in the role a year and a half, a little more, and I already feel like I'm totally integrated with what's going on. Do I know every little thing of what every single person's doing? Not necessarily, but I don't know. Someone said to me the other day, they're like, you've only been here a year and a half. You already feel like a staple here. And I don't think that had anything to do with me. I think it actually had everything to do with this level of coordination because I'm invited and I'm inviting to coordinate and to work together to make things happen. It's like when you go to camp as a kid, a week feels like forever. And you could have just met someone at the beginning, and by the end, you feel like you have a lifelong friend. That's kind of how I feel here, is because of that level of coordination. So shifting gears a little bit, I want to dive in more into Brennan Wood. So you talked a little bit about being, doing economic development, moving into Southwest Tech. Where are you from originally?
So born in Ammon, Idaho. I was there till I was 14 and then moved to Indianapolis. That was a culture shock going from little Ammon, Idaho to Indianapolis when I was 14.
Yeah.
Spent my years at Indiana University, and then I've been here. I mean, Utah's home now. I've been here for 20 years. My kids only know Utah.
Did you move here for a job originally?
I moved to Cedar City. My in-laws actually retired here from Wisconsin to Cedar City. So
did you meet your wife at college?
Met her in high school in Indianapolis, and it's been just an exciting, fun ride. And again, my kids, all they know is Southern Utah. We love it.
Yeah.
I told my kids once, I'm like, what if we move? And they're like, well, we'll come visit you from time to time, Dad. You move, we'll stop by. But no, my dad gave me some great advice when I was a young kid, just graduating from college. He said, do different things, get different experiences. Because if you want to change a job, if you have all these different experiences and skill sets, you can do almost anything. Yeah. So I jumped into sports and events marketing 5 years, then got into banking and finance.
Was that your undergrad?
My undergrad was marketing.
Oh yeah.
So I worked for a national sporting goods company for 5 years, banking, and then economic development for 5 years, and then got into higher ed. And I thought, 5 years will be a good run.
Yeah.
But higher ed is extremely challenging. There's politics, there's students, there's parents, there's the Department of Education. I have not had a day where I'm like, wow, this is not challenging. Every day it's challenging, it's exciting, it's different.
Yeah,
it's new. So I've actually loved every minute of it. But yeah, that was kind of my background. Do a lot of different things, and then gain a lot of different skill sets, and then find a job that you could use all of those. And every day I use marketing. Every day I'm talking finance and student fees and tuition and legislative funding. And then there's just a lot of business development as part of it as well. So I've kind of felt like those three careers got me to the point where I could jump into higher ed and just really enjoy it and have a good time.
Yeah, that's interesting because I've had a similar experience in my career. My undergrad was in public relations, which I always say is kind of like a sister to marketing. They kind of work hand in hand, a little bit different niche on what they're focused on. But I think there's a lot to be said about having different experiences and then finding what you really love. And I kind of stumbled into economic development. I worked for a PR firm for a while, and then I did nonprofit for a while. And then I decided to go into government using my master's. I was using my master's kind of in the nonprofit management world. And I decided, I'm going to pursue city management. And in one of my first government jobs, I just kind of was assigned to do economic development stuff. And it was kind of like a fun side thing. And then I stumbled into an economic development director position when I was applying for other jobs. And then I went and became a city manager. Now coming back to economic development, I'm like, no, this is what I really love. This is kind of the meld of all the things that I enjoy. So it's interesting how our career paths take these weird twists and turns sometimes. But the breadth of exactly what the advice your dad said, that resonates with me a lot because that was kind of my experience. And anyways, that's a lot of fun. Well, tell me too, when you were the economic development director, what were some of your favorite projects or projects that you're most proud of? And maybe give a little storytelling with some of that.
Yeah, that's a great question. And you mentioned GAF earlier. Mm-hmm. That was a really fun project to work on. There was, the facility they're currently in is 500,000 square feet. It was sitting empty for a number of years. And we would bring in different manufacturers and show them around and talk to them about the community. And something felt special, even with that first meeting with GAF, mm-hmm. where I really felt that what they were looking for really fit our community in the way that they treated their employees and the way that they talked about the company and how they wanted to give back to the community. So from the very get-go, I just really wanted to land that company. And we went through the whole process of incentives and site visits and tours and meeting with people. And at the end of the day, it came down to people. Like they really liked who was here in Cedar City. I remember the plant manager that was originally opened up the plant. His name was Joe, just a great guy. We were at a meeting at Southwest Tech, and we had a meeting with their executive team. We walked out, and he kind of pulled me aside, and he's like, we're going to come here because of these people. And he's like, and I'm going to hire Christy McMullen.
Really?
And within a month, they announced Cedar City. They hired Christy, and it just from there, it just blew up, and they're an amazing company. And that was just a fun project. And I started in 2007. If you remember the 2007, 08, 09, those are some rough years.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
And so we had to look outside the box. We did a lot with some solar companies. There's a lot of solar projects in Iron County because of a lot of meetings, a lot of site visits. And that was fun to see just because it was so hard. I mean, most companies weren't even going on site visits. They're like, I'm not doing anything right now. And so the fact that we were able to be successful during a really challenging time was to me very, very, a lot of fun. And I look back at it with a lot of a fond heart for those 5 years. Yeah,
that speaks volumes. Okay, well, kind of as we conclude here, tell me some of your favorite student stories. I'm kind of, you might have to dig deep. I don't know if there's anything off the top of your head. Do you have some favorite student success stories or experiences that you've had with students?
Well, there are so many. And every year we have a student of the year dinner. Mm-hmm. And we have about 7 students that we select from our 20 different programs. And we kind of base it off of, like, manufacturing is our welding and automation tech. So we pick a student from that area. And every year I remember, because we do a video, and a lot of times we post them on our website. They're probably, I'm not sure, you have to click on a couple spots to find them, but every year I remind myself of, okay, this is why I'm the president, and this is why I stay in higher ed, because it does impact students. We had one of our students, student of the year. She also just spoke at Rotary the other day. Heidi is her name, and she's just amazing. And she shared this with me, so I feel like I could share it with you. But she went off. She lived in another country. She's adopted kids. She had 6 of her own. She has 9 kids. She decided to go back to school 17, 18 years after high school. And she's just really loved it and has gained the confidence to go back into the workforce. And honestly, there's story after story after story. A couple of our students of the year started at SUU. One was a football player who was in the medical world. During COVID, things kind of changed. And so he said, I want to come over and get my EMT. He then went back to Southern California, got into the public safety field, and it's just so many stories, and culinary art students that have gone to nationals and have done well. And so it's, any particular story, there's hundreds, and sometimes they all blend into one, but
I understand.
It's really exciting to see really just students gain the confidence to do something. Yeah. If it's welding, and we have some amazing, female welders. We just had a scholarship committee where we had a couple 18-year-old, young women that are like, I want to be a welder. I'm excited about this as a career. And so it's just fun. And it's just to see them from day one to graduation. It's exciting to see the change that happens at the tech college. Yeah, that's awesome. I appreciate that. As you were talking, I actually thought of one other thing that I really wanted to hit on. We talked a lot about, like, the SUU partnership and a lot of the collaboration, but Southwest Tech has some really cool corporate partnerships that I think I'd be remiss if we didn't highlight some of those, both locally, nationally, internationally. And when I first learned about it, I'll tell you just brief story is I was over getting kind of a tour at the Innovation Center, and they were showing me the auto mechanic area. And I can't remember who was saying it, but one of your employees was saying, here, when we teach, like, the auto mechanic, we don't teach them just how to fix things. We teach them how to diagnose the problem. And they said, it's not like going to the doctor's office where they're trying to, like, X-ray and maybe do an MRI, kind of figure out what you're doing, what could be the problem, what are the symptoms. He said in automotive, 99% of the time, if you are taught right, you can diagnose precisely the problem, precisely the parts that need to be changed out, and exactly what's going on. And that blew my mind, because I am so used to this traditional sense of kind of what he was describing. It shouldn't be, where just there's a problem and, we think it could be this, and we're going to
change this out and this out and that out. Like the fact that you can know precisely by teaching how to diagnose and repair. Anyway, I don't know if you want to say something on that, and then I'm going to go somewhere with it as well.
Well, no, that automation and even automotive, it's very technical. There's a computer attached to everything these days. And so it's very diagnostic. It's very getting into, there's so much software that supports these technicians these days. And so, yes, we teach that. And I think that we truly have one of the most robust automotive technician programs in the state. We have the Hodder machine shop, and a lot of other institutions don't have the machine shop element. And so it's go buy a part instead of let's go see if we can make a part.
Yeah, make what we need.
And so we add that to our curriculum as well. And we have some really unique partnerships where at the end of our ASE curriculum, they can decide to focus in on either Toyota or Mercedes or Mopar. And that gets them a huge leg up when it comes to going out and applying for these jobs. Because a lot of times if you have a certificate and you go to a Toyota dealership, there are typically 1 to 3 additional kind of sections that you have to take. And we do that at no additional cost. And then sometimes if they go to employer, it could cost anywhere from $8,000 to $15,000 for that additional training for that employer. So if we can get them through that first step, then it saves the employer money, and it allows our employees to be very marketable. But they get to choose if they want to do a Toyota. Again, Mopar is really your Dodge program vehicles. So we have some unique partnerships. Toyota's donated, they rotate cars through the college. And so we have right now a truck, and we have an EV through Toyota. And so they're learning, and it's their new cars. They're brand new. So they're not working on, 20-year-old cars. They're working on the newest and the, those vehicles with computers and very complicated pieces to it.
Well, you took that in the exact direction I was going. It's like you can read my mind on some of the things. That's what was interesting to me. So I talked about like diagnosing the problem and understanding that before you just try to replace parts. And and what blew me away was when he's like, oh yeah, we have this official partnership with Toyota, Mercedes, etc., Mopar, and I'm like, well, how did you set that up? So it was just cool to see this amazing partnership and helping students get the actual practical application education that they need that's going to help them go somewhere. But I guess maybe I'll ask you that. How did like a partnership with Toyota and Mercedes, how did that get initiated? And
I had absolutely nothing to do with it. Shad, who is one of our faculty members, this is 100% on him. He just first started to reach out to manufacturers, and he told them about our program. He invited them out, and then we had people from all over the country come to Southwest Tech, and they looked at our equipment because they want to partner with a quality institution. Yeah. And so once they came out and they saw the equipment that we have, they saw our curriculum, they said, absolutely, we want to partner with you. And so cool. So over about a year, we created a number of agreements with all these different manufacturers. And we really have, some of the most in-depth partnerships with these manufacturers across the country. Again, I'm biased, but I think we're one of the best at these partnerships. Yeah. And it's not just manufacturing or automotive, but a lot of our programs are accredited through a third party. Yeah. So we have our accrediting body, and then our pharmacy technician program is accredited through a second, our practical nursing. So we jump through the hoops to make sure that our curriculum is up to par, and that we're really responding to national accreditation, industry accreditation. So I feel confident when people need to come in, check us out, meet with one of our enrollment technicians, with one of our counselors, and just get a feel for what the tech college has to offer. Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that and indulging me on that, because I just to me that was so awesome to hear that in little old Cedar City, we have this amazing partnership, and to put that in perspective, I mean, these vehicles that like Toyota donates can range anywhere between $40,000 and $100,000. Yeah. So that's like getting a major donation
financial donation every year because for the school to be able to go buy that, it's hard to justify buying a brand new, 4Runner to just take apart and put it back together or whatever. So, well, I appreciate it. Anything that you kind of want to leave on or share with the audience before we call it a day?
Yeah, no, I really enjoy what's happening at the Tech College. One thing that we just did that's as a former marketing major, we just last week sent out a press release. We just added a mascot to Southwest Tech.
Oh yeah, what's that?
And so we're the Southwest Tech Navigators, and the avatar itself is an image of a bear.
Okay.
And so, because for so long we were like, what are our students? Are you, hey students, hey Southwest Tech-ites, like,
right.
And there was not this connection. We were missing something that connected us to our student. And so for about a year, we studied it. We brought in students, we brought in focus groups, we talked to faculty, community members, and we said, what does the Tech College represent? And our original logo is a compass.
Oh, okay.
And it provides direction. And so we kind of went down that theme of navigators, because a navigator is very directionally oriented, and they're looking for adventure, and they know where they're going. And the bear stands for, confidence and strength. And so we put all these things together. So now we're the Southwest Tech Navigators. We just put up new banners. So if you're driving by the school after today, you'll see some new banners up. We have a whole bunch of merchandise that we've ordered with a really cool bear symbol. And we did 90% of it in-house.
I love that.
And so we put in our marketing minds, our branding, our PR minds, and we got together. And I'm really excited about that. So
that is cool.
The community is going to see a lot about that in the coming weeks and months.
You've heard it here first.
That's
on the
right.
Explore Local
Absolutely.
podcast. Well, I actually love that explanation, because I love the abstract logo for Southwest Tech. And I didn't make the connection that it was an abstract logo of a compass. So yeah, clearly it's a throwback to a compass. I can see that now. That's so cool. So are you going to maintain that kind of branding?
We're going to maintain
and also have the bear?
Yeah, that's our official brand. And we call, the mascot is the fun stuff.
Yeah.
It's going to be not on official documentation, but we're going to do sweatshirts, and we're going to have banners. So we'll have both the traditional logo and what we're calling the mascot logo. And in one of the alternatives of the bear, we have our compass kind of built into the bear.
Yeah, I wondered if you're going to do that.
Yeah, it's really neat. So that's been really fun. The student council that I meet with monthly, they've helped out a ton. We just put in a huge order. We got them all some swag to wear, and shout out for them for helping us along the way.
Supporting it. Well, what a fun note to end on. Brennan, I appreciate you coming on the podcast. For those listening, Brennan Wood, president of Southwest Technical College. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
All right, anytime.